Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag and drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show. I got him, Andy. This is my only big news of the week. I got my Girl Scout cookies.
Hey! I'm just sad they weren't from Olivia, but I'm glad you got some.
I know, right? But you know what? Let me tell you, the Savannah Smiles makes for an excellent tea cookie. Do you notice that?
Favorite.
Do you ever have it with tea?
I just eat them by themselves. They don't need tea.
The problem is the powdered sugar, Andy. If you're not careful, you'll inhale that powdered sugar. It'll go right. You'll inhale it. It'll go right into your lungs, and then you're dead. or you're coughing real bad.
I don't think the Girl Scouts have that warning on the box.
Don't inhale the Savannah Smiles or you're dead.
They clearly should have that warning.
That's what
on the box.
the girl who dropped him off. She said, "Oh, and here are your tag-alongs, and here are your do-si-dos, and oh, Savannah Smiles. Don't inhale or you're dead."
Wow, I want to see that expression on the Girl Scout's face when she says that.
She's very serious. She's very serious.
That is awesome. They're good. Wasn't there a movie called Savannah Smiles? There was.
I don't remember it. I don't
1982.
remember that.
Yeah. Long ago, the young daughter of a politician runs away due to lack of attention. She hides in the car of two not too bright crooks who are slowly converted into parent figures as the police web closes down on the supposed kidnappers. I remember watching that as a child.
Savannah Smiles?
Yeah.
I know not of this film. Only the cookie.
Only the cookie.
Only the cookie,
That's
Andy.
probably all you need. I don't know if you...
I have nothing else to report. It's because of a confluence of your job, of events of your job. We are recording fairly soon after the last time we recorded. And so I haven't had time to see anything else besides the movie that we've watched for the evening.
Although you did see Deadpool, didn't you?
You're right, Andy. I did.
I gave you a warning
see
last.
Deadpool. You did,
and
you know what? I took that to heart. I took it straight to heart, and I went to see it. I'm so glad you said that. You know what? I really enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun.
I really enjoyed it. It was super fun. The meta stuff was hysterical.
It was.
And you were absolutely right. Staying after the credits for the win.
It was great. I mean, the actual superhero origin story itself is pretty by the books. It's not like that interestingly unique an origin story. I just think that this one really revolves just around a really fascinating character that's just raunchy and fun to watch.
Here's the thing I thought was so interesting about it. You know, at the last minute, and when I say last minute, I mean during shooting, after the thing had been already budgeted and scoped out. Apparently, there was still a lack of faith in the film, and there was some anxiety from the studio, and so they cut an additional $7 million off the budget. And so they had to remove a bunch of stuff. First, they had to. Apparently, there was a lot of horse trading around which X-Men they got to add to the movie.
Oh, interesting.
And they ended up with, they got Colossus, but it was going to be way too expensive to get the rights for anybody else besides Negasonic Teenage Warhead. And
that one sounds totally made up. Is that an
actual
totally
X-Men? It is an actual X-Men. It is an actual X-Men, but it's definitely bench strength X-Men. And the lawyers were like, Negasonic, what? Oh, go ahead. So that was one that they got to keep. And I think it actually made for a great addition to the film because they got to unlock the teenage angst part of the script, which I thought was so funny. So I really enjoyed that. I totally didn't catch this when I was watching the movie, but because it felt so natural, but because of these budget cuts, they had to pull the, oh my God, I forgot my ammunition bag trick.
Right.
And so that's why he ended up with so few bullets. And in fact, the chase with what's his name after the huge explosive scene that opened the film with and the opening credits, by the way, are a highlight of the film. They were terrific. But that opening sequence, or that huge stunt sequence on the highway, apparently ended with a massively long motorcycle chase between Deadpool and the bad guy. Francis. Spell my name. Say my name. But that had to be completely cut, and so they fixed that one by just having him throw his one of his katanas into the wheel. And so all of these little shortcuts, which I thought worked really well in the film, were simply bandages to cover up the bleeding budget that they were dealing with. So I think it was just a real sign of like taking what appears to be a blockbuster, like it's packaged like a blockbuster, but boy, they had to deal with some large scale, holes in the boat.
It's following Jaws' footsteps.
Yeah, exactly.
You deal with the problems, and it ends up possibly making a stronger film.
The fact that this is a Deadpool movie, and I walked out not concerned that there weren't more bullets in the final action sequence, I think is a real sign to just the fact that they did a great job. Like, it was just beautiful. I thought it was really funny. And Ryan Reynolds, this was a redemptive film for him after Green Lantern. I mean, he was, I thought, just crushed it.
Yeah.
He just was great.
He was great. He was so good. I think it really says a lot that immediately after this had such a successful opening weekend, and then this weekend's been really successful as well, that they already have greenlit an R-rated Wolverine film.
Oh, I hadn't heard that yet. Oh, that's great.
It's like, they finally have caught on. Hey, you don't have to make a comic book superhero movie just for the kids.
Yeah, because you know what, it turns out the superhero movies you're making you're catering to are us. The ones who you know grew up with this stuff, and so my son was definitely bummed that he was not invited to see this movie, but it was worth it. It was worth it. It was worth not seeing it with my children.
That's right. They got Kung Fu Panda 3.
They got Kung Fu Panda 3. That's right. That's right. So, anyway, that was great. I'm glad that you taunted me into seeing it.
I'm glad
you bullied me into seeing it.
That's a strong word these days, Pete.
Whatever. I call it like I see it, yo.
I can get kicked out of school for that.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about is Hamilton, the musical. Have you listened to this yet?
I'm trying to figure out, is this the political one?
The political. Alexander Hamilton. Yes, right. It's political. Yeah. Founding fathers. Yes, it's political.
At first I was like, Hamilton. I couldn't figure out which Hamilton. Then I just, No, I know nothing about it.
Are you talking about? Hamilton, like the appliance?
I don't know.
Hamilton Beach?
Could be some guy named Hamilton.
No, dummy. Yes, it's the musical. It is. It was one of those things I was introduced to a while ago. Somebody said, "Hey, you got to listen to Hamilton," and I only listened to like the first song, and I thought, "Oh yeah, no, it's a hipster rap musical. That's great." And that was my bad because, oh my goodness, it is amazing, and it's a sing through, right? Like the entire thing you listen to. They don't leave anything on the stage for you. This is Lin-Manuel Miranda is unbelievable talent in writing and starring in this show, and it is really. We're obsessed with it. If you haven't caught it, I may break into song this evening. So I know I'm a little bit late to the game, but you got to pick it up.
Wow!
If you haven't already, Hamilton's great.
Wow! What a sales pitch!
Yeah, I haven't. I've been so busy listening to Hamilton, I have not finished my next James Bond book. So that'll have to come next week.
I see. Gotcha. At least you're still plugging away with those.
As they say, Andy, please let my life serve as a warning to others. Shall we begin? Shall we tell the people where we're from?
Where are we from?
This is The Next Reel on rashpixel.fm, everybody. I'm Pete Wright, and that there is Andy Nelson.
Hello, hello, hello.
And we spoil movies. Tonight on the show, the fourth in our series on great films and their remakes, with our second remake of the bunch following our fantastic discovery last week of the gang drama Infernal Affairs. We have Martin Scorsese's 2006 remake, The Departed. Before we get into that, you should learn more about us at thenextreel.com, subscribe to the show on iTunes, or follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Next Reel. And if you've ever had a cop in your crew that you had to smoke out real hard, you should head over to The Next Reel's Instagram, #PonyPrize, #GuessTheMovieChallenge.
And with that, let's head on over to Scotland and check in with Stephen Smart, who can't seem to stop dunking his head into a bucket of ice.
Hey guys. Last week we stepped back to the early 40s with I Walked with a Zombie from 1943, directed by Jacques Tourneur and starring Francis D and Tom Conway. Congrats to @FegFay who guessed it on Image 4. You're entered once again into the 2016 Pony Prize hat. As always, a new challenge starts on Monday. So thanks guys, and see you later.
We have a little bit of follow-up from our dear friend of the show, Ben Lott, with the Blot Spot.
Yes, Ben writes in and says, I adored See, this is that dang adjective.
It's wordplay, Andy.
I adored Infernal Affairs. It had me on the edge of my seat the whole way through. I cannot remember the last time I watched a movie and had no idea what would happen in every single scene. Each new plot twist was a surprise. The acting was great. The look of the film was amazing. But what really stood out to me was the story. The idea of two moles on opposite sides of the law trying to track each other down is absolutely fascinating. I love this movie from start to finish. Now I can't wait to watch the American remake. Your rank 137, my rank 12.
Oh, man. You know, that 12 feels so much better for me this week. And we got blocked. We got Oh Brother blocked.
I think that's going to be in our glossary now. The Oh Brother block.
That's what it is. It feels like it's been a year.
It's always that accursed Oh Brother.
I'm telling you that this film, Infernal Affairs, has aged so well for me.
Yeah, I think it has for me as well. It's just some of the issues that I have with the women, but I still. It's a really strong, really, really strong film, and it certainly should be higher.
Yeah, it should. But mostly in the spirit of Tommy Handsome, who says there will be no re-ranking. We are going to leave it right where it is.
The algorithms never lie. If I could get that
Andy,
up.
I think it's time. Let's do trailers. I haven't gone first in a long time.
Own it, man.
And this movie, it totally jumped out at me. I can't believe that I had not seen this coming. It's called A Bigger Splash from director Luca Guadagnino.
Should have practiced that one, shouldn't you?
That's my Italian. I've never actually said it out loud. Have you seen anything else that Luca has done? Did you see I Am Love?
No, I saw the title and I was like, it said from the director of I Am Love. I'm like, I haven't even heard of I Am Love.
It was lovely. It's I Am Love is an interesting film because it's the trailer. Like when you look at the trailer, it's really intense looking. It looks like a thriller, and it ends up not being as much of a thriller. I mean, it's a family drama, but it is lovely, and it stars Tilda Swinton. This one also stars Tilda Swinton. A Bigger Splash. Same director, writers David Kajganik
You shouldn't even
and
try.
Alan Page. Stop. I know, it's terrible. And the film stars Tilda Swinton, obviously, where he finds Matthias Schoenaerts and Dakota Johnson, who's... I think this was... I'm almost sure this was shot before 50 Shades. I'm pretty sure. At least it had no press. This has been tooling around the festival circuit for a long time. In fact, we're very last on the list to get this in theaters. It's a story of a famous rock star played by Swinton and her filmmaker paramour, disrupted by the unexpected visit of an old friend and his daughter, and that's where the Lolita story comes in. It looks like a kind of an interesting thriller. And again, I'm having seen I Am Love and its trailer, I'm a little bit concerned that this one is not as much of a thriller as I want it to be, even though I know Luca does fantastic work behind the camera. So I'm really excited to see it. I love being surprised like this. What did you think?
I didn't know what to think of it. It was really refreshing to see Ralph Fiennes playing a character that was so big and so kind of just gregarious and wild. I just don't feel he ever gets to do that. He's always intense and brooding or evil or something like that. You know, he doesn't play something like this very often. And so that was really exciting to see. And then, the trailer really takes this dark turn toward the end. And I was like, okay, so it seems kind of like a character relationship drama for a little bit. And then it kind of got into a little bit of kind of a thriller sort of thing. And then it seems like there's a murder in the pool. I was like, there's a lot of stuff going on in this. It could be really interesting. So, I think it would be an interesting watch. I don't know a whole lot about Luca, like I said, but Luca is actually, after this, directing a remake of Suspiria with Dakota and Tilda.
We just talked about that, didn't we?
With Abraham Benrubi.
With Abraham Benrubi, right.
Yeah.
That's one of the catalog of weird that we're supposed to check out.
Yes. So I'm going to have to go watch the Dario Argento original and then be ready for this one. And I looked it up. It's Guadagnino. Luca Guadagnino.
Luca Guadagnino.
There you go.
Anyway, our Italian friends have been watching this film since September 6th when it opened at the Venice Film Festival, and just followed by just about everywhere else in the world until us on May 6th. We get it. and then Turkey will get it on May 6th. So May 4th for us, May 6th for Turkey. Our friends and listeners in Turkey, mark your calendars.
Excellent.
There you go.
Excellent.
What's yours?
Well, my trailer, it looks like a fun, just kind of a crime thriller sort of film. It's Bastille Day, and it has the fantastically awesome Idris Elba in it, along with Richard Madden, who, anyone who's fans of Game of Thrones still might be mourning his death. I know I am. It was certainly a brutal one.
That was a tough one.
It was a really tough one, but this film looks really good. Elba plays a former CIA agent who embarks on an anti-terrorist mission in France with a young artist and pickpocket, as Richard Madden's character turns out to be. And it looks like a really interesting combination of these two kind of teaming up to figure out this, who made this bomb and track this thing down and kind of going rogue and all of that. I love the look of this, and I just love, Elba is kind of like my pick for the next James Bond. I think that he's just so fantastic. I think he's got a great look. I think he could really carry the character. I think it would be a really interesting a direction to go with him playing James Bond. I would be thrilled to see that happen. And I think
absolutely,
yeah, and I think this gives a good opportunity for him to kind of pull some of that James Bond action hero sort of stuff. So, I'm pretty excited. James Watkins is directing it. I'm trying to see what he did. Nothing that's very big. He did The Woman in Black with Daniel Radcliffe, and then before that, Eden Lake. So not a lot of stuff. He's done some writing as well. So it looks like a really fun sort of action film. I'm excited to see it. What about you?
I think he needed this film because of all of the speculation around Elba's potential, his name getting floated for James Bond. He needed this film. He needed this film on the big screen. He needed this film with global distribution. He did that it was a series he did on BBC where he played what was it called? It was a cop film or a cop series that is on Hulu now that looks terrific. And I never caught it, but it was that same sort of vibe in just the little bit of trailer that I saw that comes out of this film. I feel like he needed this to prove that he has the presence to be able to pull off that a Bond.
Yeah.
And so I am really excited about it. He looks great. You're absolutely right. Seeing Rob Stark on there, not as Rob Stark, was a real gift. I'm glad to see him get on the big screen too. At least I found out he survived.
Right, it wasn't a real
after the Red Wedding. I'm really looking forward to it. And the song they used in the I didn't even need to see the trailer. As soon as I heard the song, it's Jungle by Ex Ambassadors. It was used in a Beats commercial back in 2014 during the World Cup, and I just fell in love with that tune. It's been on heavy rotation around here since then. So hearing that in this trailer, I was like, I don't need to see anymore. I'm just going to see the movie.
I'm just going to go. The song is just so good.
It's probably not even in the movie. I don't even care the trailer. Just hearing it in the trailer was enough.
Nice. It was Luther, the TV show that you were talking about.
Luther, that's right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, this opens July 13th, so just in time for some summer action.
I love it. I'm in it.
Excellent stuff. Hey, Pete.
Yes, Andy.
If we're not going to make it, it's got to be you that gets out, because I'm not capable. I'm Irish. I'll deal with something being wrong for the rest of my life.
When I was your age, they would say we could become cops or criminals. What I'm saying is this. When you're facing a loaded gun, what's the difference?
This is not the regular police! This is the state police!
We are an elite unit.
This is who we're after.
Frank Costello.
You won't be paid as a regular cop, but there's a bonus involved.
So what do I do?
The Departed, Andrew, 2006, directed by Martin Scorsese. Written by old Billy Monahan. You remember old Billy from the block?
Oh yeah,
Billy Monahan. Yeah, that's terrible.
Neither of us really. Yeah, that's just bad.
No, neither of us. No, we're from Colorado.
Cameron, we apologize.
I have to tell you, Andy, I had a hard time turning this movie on. I almost did not want to watch it because my memory of it was that it was a strong film. I had some strong opinions of it at the time. I had not seen Infernal Affairs the last time I watched The Departed, and so my memory of it was good. I did not want to watch this again because I was worried. I was worried that it would not hold up as well as I thought that it should have. And I'm going to tell you, it did not. It is still a fine film, but it absolutely did not hold up in now that I have Infernal Affairs in my catalog.
Huh.
That is surprised me on a few key points. This is, of course, the story of an undercover cop and a mole in the police as they attempt to identify each other while infiltrating an Irish gang now in South Boston. And this is Leonardo DiCaprio plays the cop who is embedded. He's an embed in the gang. And Matt Damon plays the gang member who's an embed in the cops. You remember what an embed is.
Oh, here we go again,
don't you?
yes.
Don't you, Andy?
Oh, yes.
Don't you? Yeah, no, it's important. And Jack Nicholson plays the crazy guy, not so loosely based on Whitey Bulger. And there you go. Cast also includes Mark Whalberg, Martin Sheen, Ray Winstone, Vera Farmiga, who's awesome in everything she touches, and Alec Baldwin, who turns out he practically delivers the Always Be closing speech. I love that guy. Anyhow, so among other people that are fantastic in this film, that is the setup for the film tonight. Give me your shot. What do you think?
I still really like it. I really enjoy this film. I do also have some issues with it, but I've kind of always had those issues with it. I don't know if my opinion dropped that much. I think it's still, I don't know. I'm torn. It's a really strong film. And I think I still like it more than Infernal Affairs. But that being said,
it sounds like you're on the fence. I hear it in your voice.
I'm a little on the fence. I have some character issues with both films, I guess is my problem. That, for me, make both of them, I struggle with both of them because of those character problems that I have.
Character problems.
Yeah, just some of the characters. Like in Infernal Affairs, it was the female characters. I really didn't like how they were done. I felt like, we need a way to get some subtext in here. Let's have his wife be kind of a subtext character, and that just didn't work for me. And I liked the development with the psychologist, except I just didn't think there was enough of it there. And so
I agree.
And plus, there's the ex-girlfriend randomly coming in with the child, and we kind of have that with this one, I guess, where Vera's character ends up pregnant by Matt Damon's character. So you still have a child element in it. I find it more interesting that it's all one woman, and you have this combination of those three characters. And I think Vera is a stronger actress, and I think they give her a lot more to do here. So I really like that element a lot more in this film.
Okay. I think you're right. And it's interesting, though, isn't it, that here we have, in the other movie, at least we have, three women that are underwritten. And here we have one that is, and that's really it. There's one woman in the film.
Well, yeah, and that
really
there is
and
right.
You could make a case. I'm not saying I'm making it, but you could make a case that this film also has women problems. Underwritten women.
I think it doesn't have underwritten women problems. I think the women characters that are here are written well. It's just it's underwritten the number of women.
Yes. That's it. It's if we're doing math. And I'm not saying I want to do math on the show.
That's my job.
But it's not good. So anyhow, I hear you. Let's talk first about the adaptation, because this was it's funny. This is William Monahan, who is a Boston local. He is he says he wanted to capture the world that he grew up in, and this was an original script. Or I should take that back. It wasn't an original script. He had always adapted Infernal Affairs. It didn't always have the Whitey Bulger piece to it.
Right.
That was infused later as they realized, hey, we want to do this Whitey Bulger story, and here's a movie that we could, squish these things together and meet both of our objectives. And so he says he wanted to capture the loyalty and connectivity of the Irish community in Boston, and he said. In an interview, he said this was by no means ever intended to be a Whitey Bulger story. That it sort of ended up there, but that was never the intent.
And from what I read, Jack Nicholson is actually the one who wanted something more with it, and kind of got them to add that element to it.
Right, and that was what I like the way Scorsese puts it is, no, we never. We'd never really intended, we never really said, as we were publicizing it, that Nicholson was Bulger, but let us say we were quite confident in that character. Which it's interesting because Scorsese, there were a couple of things that were interesting about this film. This was, I think, one of his only, of his big crime films, was this the only one that was present day? I think every other film that he had done, Goodfellas, Casino, like they were all period films in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm trying to think through them. I mean, other films that he's done have been of the time, like Taxi Driver. But if you're talking specifically of his crime films,
right, of his crime films.
Yeah. Which I guess...
I think they were. And so I think that's an interesting... that ends up being kind of an interesting element to how he does a film. We were talking about William Monahan. I derailed myself. But my challenge with the script is that, in reading interviews with him, he says, he said, I really wanted to do more than make a straight up remake of the original film. And maybe it's because I'm watching it hot on the heels of watching Infernal Affairs, but I almost feel like I didn't get quite enough in terms of the remake to make it a valuable kind of commentary on the original. It just felt like it was, in terms of the script, it was Infernal Affairs in Boston and in English, and it didn't have quite enough of the major elements added that made it a better film. It made it a looser film for me. It made it a little bit more of a clumsy film for me. And I found I really preferred the much tighter, more focused delivery of the main drama that I got in Infernal Affairs.
Huh. Okay. I actually liked the way that this script fleshed a lot of things out. I enjoyed we had a lot of the same elements. We had, the story itself is obviously the same. For the most part, the FBI informant was added on, but we had the two moles and kind of their search for each other. We have, the overall thing, then all the way down to specific scenes. Like we've got the conversation over the golf course when he's kind of given the promotion. We've got the conversation with the two thugs as they are eyeballing everybody around them, looking and saying, "Oh, they're all cops." Right. So they pulled a lot of specifics and a lot of big things out and brought it over. But I liked that there were elements that, I don't know, they just felt a little more fleshed out. Like I actually liked the reasoning that Monahan built into this script as to why Matt Damon's character ends up killing Frank. The reason in the Infernal Affairs seemed to be more like, he made a decision to kind of go on the good side all of a sudden, and so he killed his boss there in the parking garage. Here, I liked that there was a little bit more of a confrontation between the two of them, and it felt a little more natural. So I liked some of the development and the way that they played with that more in this film.
I can see that. I agree with you on that final point too, though. I think that the relationship between Colin and Frank is an important one in this film that I think they deliver, or at least they deliver on better in the climax of the film.
One of the areas that I felt, and I'm torn if I blame this on the script or Jack Nicholson, but my character issue with this film is Jack Nicholson's character is just so big and so over the top that it kind of got to a point where it was bugging me. And it was like Jack Nicholson was just being really way over the top Jack Nicholson. And it was just kind of too much for me. And I don't say that too often about Jack Nicholson, but this time it's just like, God, he's just so nuts. And I know the whole idea, as DiCaprio pointed out several times in the film, he's starting to go crazy. And I mean, he was acting crazy, but the scene when he was brought in, DiCaprio's character was brought into the bar and was talking to Nicholson as Frank, and Frank's talking about the rats, and he's just like sniffing the air and his eyes are going nuts, and he's just like, he keeps like talking about eating, and he's just like, I don't know what he's eating, but it's just like, it's almost like he's mushing his hand onto the table and then like licking his palms. Like, and it just...
Oh, it was the fly. He ate a fly.
He ate a fly.
He ate a fly.
Where did the fly come from? I guess I missed
it. Was
the fly.
buzzing around. It was buzzing around, and he smacks it down on the table, and then he licks his hand. That's what was happening there.
I totally missed the fly part.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, that's just weird. But yeah, so that even furthers my issue with him. It's so big and over the top that it stood out as a little too nutso for me.
Okay,
and
so
I really preferred Eric Tsang. The way that he played the big villain.
Okay, so we're talking about the cast. We got to go. We got to go all the way here. So I
kind of pulled us off.
You did. This is on you. No, I totally. That's table stakes. So I totally agree with you about Jack Nicholson. I agree. It is absolutely, for me, this is a performance that lacks any of the sort of the nuance of Jack Nicholson crazy. It's just opened the floodgates of Jack Nicholson being just weird. And I didn't care for it. What I didn't expect is, my impression of Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon playing Billy and Colin. I never really, I didn't think that I had a problem with them until I saw Infernal Affairs, and you get the two characters that play their counterparts in Infernal Affairs. They're just more mature. I don't know if I can say that they are older, but they are more mature adults, and they're portrayed as more mature, sober adults in this film, in Infernal Affairs, than my impression of Leo and Matt in The Departed. They seem too young, and as such, I find myself not able to believe them anymore. Like, I watch this film and I'm like, these are kids parading around in the film. It was just a miscast to me. I just didn't get it. Maybe had they made this movie today, right, post The Martian, post The Revenant, that these are the guys who could play this part, but the Leo and Matt of 2006, I didn't believe. So that was my problem with their two sort of major embeds. But my biggest problem in the whole film is Mark Whalberg. He was a disaster of a character in this film. It was terribly written. It was an embarrassment every time he was on stage with Martin Sheen, and I just wanted him excised from the picture completely.
That's so weird. Because I think he's so good.
Oh, he's terrible.
No, he's
I can't
brilliant.
believe that. He's a goof.
He's great.
He's a cartoon villain.
Oh, he's fantastic. I really enjoyed him in this. I thought he was, I don't know, he's just alive. And I thought there was a lot of, I don't know, there's something about him that I really liked. So, and clearly everyone else did, because, I mean, he got an Oscar nomination. He was the only person to get an Oscar nomination for the performances in the film.
I know. I can't understand it. This is the Pete's Spotlight syndrome. It is not this. I am out of step. But this is my bigger point. Beyond just his performance, let's say I love his performance. Let's just say that. Having his character in here is fluff. It is a character that we don't need.
Well,
and I think Infernal Affairs proves it. We didn't need an extra intermediary between the guys and the chief. We didn't need it, and so I think it was just it just added to the extra material in the film that took me away from the story.
I as much as I do enjoy him in the film, I will agree with you there. I think he does bring a lot to it, but looking at it after the film, going, okay, so why did they add him to the film? Because they didn't have that character in Infernal Affairs. So what about it did they find necessary to bring him in? For me, it seemed to be that the way that they wanted to end the film with kind of resolution of him killing Colin, that was kind of for me, the motivation to have that character. I mean, really, other than that moment, you don't need that character in the film. That the fact that he kind of circles back and comes back, because he is at this point really the only person who had any interaction with Billy. He is now the one who, my assumption is that, in the envelope that Billy had given to Dr. Madeline Madden, Vera's character, it was something like, find Sergeant Dignam and give him this information, and so that Dignam could kind of resolve the situation with Colin. That was my impression of how all of that worked out. And, I think it works. I like having this type of an ending. That being said, I also really liked the Infernal Affairs ending.
Yeah, that's sort of my take on it. But, bottom line for me is I think I'm also seeing a big hole in the relationship between Martin Sheen and Alec Baldwin. I would have loved to have seen more on-screen sort of head-to-head between those guys, and I think there was a way to write Whalberg out of Dignam's character out of the film and have a more interesting, tighter, more compelling, more sort of explosive relationship between the leaders of the police force. That was my biggest disappointment in the film, and it ended up tainting, I think, a lot of my earlier impressions of the film when I'd seen it years ago. And I'm being a little bit intentional.
So you did have that problem when you first saw it with Martin or with Mark Wahlberg.
I have always had that problem with Mark Wahlberg. I have always had that problem. He's just he's a clown. Now, I want to say I'm being sort of willfully kind of bullish on this film. I still actually enjoyed the film. I enjoyed the film, but it's no longer ranked higher than Infernal Affairs. In fact, on my flick chart, it's pretty ridiculously low. It's in the 500s compared to Infernal Affairs, which is in my top 40.
Wow.
And mostly because it couldn't get past Inglourious Bastards. Like it's just, it's out there. It's a good, solid film, but it's not as good and solid as the rest. I think, back to the direction, Scorsese he is so good at these kind of crime dramas. And I think his youth kind of growing up in Little Italy, the consultant on this film, the crime consultant is the organized crime guy
right.
From the Boston Police Force, Tom, what's his name? I've escaped his name. Anyway, he says, Marty has a beyond working knowledge of organized crime because of where he grew up in New York. Like, this is a guy who just so happened to be intimately equipped to tell stories like this. And this film absolutely demonstrates that in a really interesting kind of tableau. So I do like the film. So anyhow.
Tom Duffy,
right.
Yeah, I really like it. I guess I'm still a little torn which one I really prefer, because I definitely have issues with both of them. But I feel like I still prefer this one more because I appreciate the development, and actually I really enjoy the integration of the Bulger story into this, and that FBI element, and the reason that kind of Matt Damon's character gets so mad at Frank at that point. I think that's a really interesting element to have brought into this. So
yeah,
I think I think I'd still go for this one. What did you think of Johnny Depp versus Jack Nicholson as kind of?
I can't comment. I haven't seen Black Mass.
I haven't seen Black Mass.
No. What did you think?
They both are really big and over the top as the particular character. I mean, Johnny Depp is more straight out creepy as the Bulger character.
Well,
Nicholson
and he's doing a straight up impression of
right
Bulger, right? I mean, Nicholson is just a gang lord in the direct spirit of Bulger, if I'm understanding that.
Yeah, exactly. And then, he just kind of goes off on his own crazy deep end. I mean, but, back to Scorsese, that's one thing I really, really enjoy about watching him with his films and watching him at work, because, man, he is just a master. He knows how to put a film together. He knows how to cut scenes together. He knows how to, intercut different scenes together. I mean, I really enjoyed this film, how we'd have two different scenes happening, and they would be intercut together. And so there was a lot of that where you'd get these two different scenes back and forth of two different characters, whether it was Colin and Billy or Billy and Frank or whoever it was. You'd see these intercuts, and it was great. I loved how he built that. I love how he used his camera tricks, how he does freeze frames of like key little moments in the action scene. So you got like somebody getting shot or shooting something, and it just freezes real quick. Just, it's just a short little freeze, like a 3-frame freeze or something as somebody's getting shot or something's happening. And it's just such a fun way to play with stuff. And even when he would do irises, which I think there were 2 irises in the film where he'd kind of focus on different characters. I love that he is really excited about what he can do with cinema.
Yeah, he does feel like he feels like a very young filmmaker in that regard. He's a guy who never got tired of what many would end up calling gimmicks. And as a result, he ends up delivering on them in a very non-gimmicky way. And that I think is true of all those films. I mean, you can't look at Goodfellas. Goodfellas was and I think Casino did this too. There's this great use of those freeze frames you talk about as nice backing to voiceovers that are done really well. And so those are the little tricks that I really enjoy of his that just help move the film forward in a nice and structured way. And that's another reason I'm sort of disappointed in this film, that this film feels as loose as it does, looser to me than some of his other even longer films.
I also love his camera work. It's constantly alive. It makes the pace feel just like it's just flying. And I love that he's got little homages in here. The nod to The Third Man when Vera kind of walks past Matt Damon's character right at the end there. I really enjoy things like that. And just the way that he uses his space, how he's got a lot of frames where there's like an X in the shot, kind of hinting that, those are people who are going to die at some point soon.
Well, and that he says the X's are a direct homage to Scarface, the 1932 Howard Hawks, Richard Rawson's Scarface, where every time someone was killed, there was an X in the frame. And so, according to Scorsese, he says, so we put X's everywhere in this film. There's an X all over the place in this film. And the other one is Paul Muni from Scarface. Every time he went to kill somebody, he's whistling the sextet from Lucia, he says. And so that's why Bulger goes to the opera, and they're seeing that piece. Again, as a nod to Scarface. This is clearly a guy who loves film enough to pay these kinds of nods of honor to the work.
And I loved the speaking of the opera scene, just another nod to highlighting Nicholson as the devil. You've got that incredible red light just lighting him up, and which was. It was just so fun because it's just like, he's the devil. He's sitting here in hell. You pan over, you see the girl sitting next to him. And then you pan the other way and you see the other girl sitting next to him.
Yeah, right. What do we know about, speaking of use of camera, what do we know about Michael Ballhaus, who's cinematography, frequent collaborator of Scorsese?
Yeah, and he's definitely one of those guys who's just a busy cinematographer. I mean, he's a German cinematographer. He started really working with Rainer Werner Fassbinder way back in the 70s and did a lot of his films, I think 16. And then he came over here to the States and has just done a lot of stuff with a lot of different people. John Sayles, James Foley, talked about recently. Prince, we talked about him on Under the Cherry Moon.
We did.
Yes, indeed. James L. Brooks, Peter Yates, Frank Oz, Mike Nichols, Steve Kloves, Francis Ford Coppola. And, of course, he's done, I believe, is it 6 films with Scorsese? After Hours,
I think so, yeah.
Color of Money, Last Temptation of Christ, Goodfellas, The Age of Innocence, Gangs of New York, and The Departed. So I guess 7.
Yeah. He did one of my other favorites. I don't know. It may be a guilty pleasure by now. It's the Fabulous Baker Boys. I just love that. I've brought that up before. The Bridges Brothers.
Yeah, he's done
any piano movie. I'm in.
Yeah, good with piano movies.
Yeah,
he's done a wide variety with a lot of different directors and stuff. So.
118 credits. This guy.
Yeah, he's busy.
Yeah. Still kicking, but I don't think he's done. I mean, 3,096 days in 2013. I did not see a German film, looks like. Did you see it?
No, and he hasn't really done much since then, has he?
Yeah. Interesting. A young Austrian girl is kidnapped and held in captivity for 8 years, based on the factual case of Natasha Kampusch.
There's a lot of that.
Kidnapping stories are tough.
Ay.
Jeez. Anyway, the film. Let's see. Production design. Christy Zea. This, it's a film that I think it captures the stereotype that I have in my head of Boston.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, it feels like it satisfied what I needed to see. It feels really authentic. It feels authentic to what I know about Bulger and about his behavior. Now that, I mean, we're seeing this film now in a new context. Like, at this point, he was still on the run when this film came out, and so we have more information about Whitey Bulger than we ever had, and now 10 years later. And so, what we know about him and his behavior in Boston, how he sort of ran South Boston, I think the film captures it really well.
Yeah, and that's something that I kind of forget that, he was caught 5 years after this, arrested in California. Watching this, I kind of forgot that he had actually been caught. But yeah, it was one of those interesting stories, man. He's quite a character, and it's just a dark figure. So it did. I think you're right. This film, the production design, definitely rang true to South Boston. Like, I felt like I had been hanging out in the town, and maybe that's just because there seems to be, like with this and the town and other films, it seems like that's kind of become a place to tell these sorts of crime stories.
Yeah, I guess. Sorry, Boston. The film. Let's see. Thelma Schoonmaker won the Oscar for editing this thing. One of the Oscars of this film. What did you think of the way it was cut together?
I loved it. I mean, I already said I love the way that they intercut the different stories. I really just I felt that it was just solid, and I noticed a few times more than I had before the way that some of the characters, it's just the nature of acting, and when you're moving or you're doing something, and then you cut to another shot, another angle, things aren't quite lined up the same. It's just always going to be that way. That's why your script supervisor stays so busy. But there were definitely some times that I noticed this time when, like, Jack Nicholson, after he breaks the cast off of Leo's arm, pulls out his money and throws some money on the table and says, "Oh, go get this fixed." And I noticed, the way that he throws some money down, and then it cuts to another shot, and he still had some money in his hand. It was in one hand and not the other. And then it cuts and it's in the other hand, and he throws money down. And it's done so smoothly that I don't think I would have noticed, except maybe I was just weirdly paying attention to that for some reason. But it's just, I think that there's, I think it's always a challenge for editors to have to find ways to cut things like that when actors do things that might not line up. And I think that she does it really well because, I did happen to notice it in this particular case, but I think it happens so often where you don't necessarily notice it. It just goes really cleanly by. So, plus I just think that she paces the story well, and she's able to tell it well, with this long story.
I wonder what. Is there a way to find out just how many straight feet of footage goes into the average Scorsese film? Is there a website that tracks that? Like, just how much just straight feet was shot?
That's information that I doubt the studios ever release.
I would be super interested in just how much Tell me, she's worked with Scorsese a lot.
Oh,
She's done a lot of his stuff. Her first one was Raging Bull, I think, 1980, and has been with him ever since. And she's just crushingly good at what she does. But I don't have a sense of what his reputation is for, overshooting, for just, how much coverage does he get that he throws at her, and just that they end up sorting out. I was watching the deleted scenes, and the passion that he puts into introducing his deleted scenes, the methodology behind why this got deleted, this or that was cut is really fantastic. His films end up being so meaty, right, so long, that I wonder how much he gets. That's an interesting thing for me.
I don't know, but they did start actually 3 years before Raging Bull with Who's That?
Oh, they
Knocking
did?
at
Was
My
that not the
Door?
first one? Oh, yep, you're right. There you go.
No,
Good
I think she's great. I mean, she's been nominated for 7 Oscars, and she won 3 times, all for films with him: Raging Bull, The Aviator, and this. She's a solid editor. I like her.
Yeah, really good. We've talked a little bit about the cast already, about Leo and Matt. Do we have anything else to say about Billy Costigan and Colin Sullivan?
I do really enjoy. I just enjoy those characters. I do feel that, I don't know, maybe differently than you, I felt Leo and Matt worked great in the roles. I really enjoyed the sense of these two guys in there. I mean, they're both, early to mid 30s when they made this. And I liked that sense of this story with, some cops that were, in the first, I don't know, 10 years of their career. I don't know. I liked the feel of them in their.
But see, that's interesting because in Infernal Affairs, they placed the story later in their careers. He had been doing his undercover bit for 10 years. Yeah. And I think I just appreciated the seasoning that he had in the organization more. I got a sense that, it's funny. I had a better sense that his character in Infernal Affairs had done worse things even than DiCaprio in this Scorsese version, even though we saw him do really bad things to people, stomping on their heads in the bar. I mean, it was just awful things to people. And it still didn't feel like as seasoned a thug as I got in the original. You don't see what I mean? Like, they're just straight up level of maturity. That doesn't ring any bells for you?
Well, I mean, it could just be that Tony certainly looked older. I mean, I think he just looked older. But it didn't bug me. I mean, they felt like totally legit cops. I mean, or cops / criminals. I didn't have any issue with it. I thought it was fine. If anything, okay. I would say, I did feel that Leo emoted his sense of concern about stuff that he was doing maybe a little more on the nose than Tony did. Like he wore it on his sleeve more when he had to like punch smash the guy in the face with the picture or shoot him in the leg or whatever. I mean, it did feel a little bit more like I could tell. Yeah. Like if I was one of Whitey's guys or Frank's guys, sorry, I should say Frank, not Whitey. If I was one of Frank's guys and I saw that look on Leo's face, I would be like, is he really up for this?
Yeah. I think he just telegraphed a moment. Yeah, totally agree.
But
I agree, and it bugged me.
Yes. I really enjoyed Martin Sheen in this film. I think that he is like a brilliant guy to kind of play the police chief. I think that I don't know, I just think he's really good as Queenan in this film.
When have you, I think I mean this seriously, when have you not liked Martin Sheen in a film?
Good point.
I love Martin Sheen. I adore that guy. Just about everything I see him in.
Yeah, you're right. He's always good. I mean, The Dead Zone, he's great. What else have we talked about with him? I feel like that might be the only thing.
I think that's the only thing we've talked about.
But
he's fantastic. She's just fantastic.
Yeah.
So much TV stuff.
Yeah. He is great. So he was perfect in the film. And I thought, I got to say, I enjoy the scene quite a bit when the cop gets killed or when that character gets killed in Infernal Affairs. But man, do I love the shot of him, the slow shot of him falling in this film.
Down past the X's,
Yeah, just
in the windows.
just kind of the slow fall as he falls out of frame. I think that's just a stellar Scorsese shot.
You know, I really agree with that until he hits the ground. And for me, there was something really important about having the chief hit the car so that his head is eye level with the cop in Infernal Affairs. And having Martin Sheen hit the ground and splatter is gross, and it's shocking, and it achieves, that. If that's its singular goal, it achieves it. But we lose that bit of intimacy that we get with the eye to eye. That I found myself, and we talked at length about it last week, that was a really powerful moment. And for me, this moment in Departed totally deflated as a result of the staging.
Interesting.
Is that? I mean, I'm not just.
I think that's a really. I think it's a valid point. I don't know if I felt the same about it as far as having that need to have that shot, but I can definitely see your point. It's an interesting one.
All right, Vera Farmiga.
I just love her. Farmiga.
I like her so much.
Farmiga.
She's a terrible therapist. Really, maybe a great therapist, but a terrible judge of character. Who does that with the guy who says he's going to go out and get drugs and kill himself? Who does that? And then she says, "Get out of my office."
I don't. I love
terrible therapist.
I love that scene though, because it's clearly just a huge button pushing scene, and it just shows that it's she struggles like anyone else, I guess.
Well, that's the thing that I love so much about her portrayal of this, and I didn't the first time I saw it until after I sort of got to know her a little bit better and watched her doing some interviews on it, that when she says she loved the character because this woman is so strong and smart and so wildly misguided in her choices and allegiances, and she's just fundamentally broken, that really made her appeal to me. I felt like I understood her a little bit better than the first time I saw it when watching her character this time. It seems like she makes some really crazy, stupid choices, but I feel like those choices are grounded in real relationships and real character that is at great depth. And again, to your point, maybe I'm coming at her character and liking her character so much because Infernal Affairs was, so bad in terms of the way it portrayed any of the female characters.
Yeah, it really was. Have you seen any of Bates Motel?
No, not a single episode.
I haven't either. It's on my watch list. I think Netflix just added it, so I need to start watching that one. That might be my next show to watch. I've heard nothing but good things.
I know. Me too. My watch list is so long right now, Andy. What am I going to do?
I don't know. Find your own Groundhog Day so you can just...
I need it bad.
There you go.
Anything to say about Ray Winstone as Frenchie?
He's always an actor I kind of struggle with. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I still enjoy him quite a bit. But if there was anyone that I felt was a little off, it was him. And it's just like, gosh, I couldn't quite tell. And again, I acknowledged a few weeks ago on our film board that I'm not necessarily a great judge of accents. But he was the one that was like, I don't know if he's quite there as far as getting that Boston accent. Because he seemed kind of like he was having some difficulty with it. Was that just me?
I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm a terrible judge of Boston accents in general, so they all sounded a little off to me. And so I just haven't spent enough time there. I know a bunch of Bostonians, but they're not from Boston. They're all outside of it. And so none of them, I don't know a lot of people who have a really, perfect South Boston accent. I can't talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, well. But I mean, I think he's great in the film. I think he works well as I guess you could say the straight man to Nicholson's character.
Yeah. Yeah. The Alec Baldwin.
Oh, yes. It's
unfortunate. Alec Baldwin's best scene was a deleted scene, and it was an expanded scene from when he... Did you watch any of the deleted stuff?
I didn't.
There's an expanded scene. It's the same sequence that he dips his head in the ice. And he has a much richer kind of monologue that he delivers to young Matt Damon, where he's talking about the role of a cop and a catch and what it means to be successful, and it's great. It's a great sequence, and it was sadly cut. I don't know why. But it gave him a chance, I think, to do something a little bit more, and there was more of him like putting drops in his eyes and just the act of kind of waking up that Alec Baldwin does really well. So I missed that. Otherwise, I just it's tough to do wrong for me with Alec Baldwin too. He's in that Martin Sheen category.
Yeah, he is. He's great. His I think he has one of my favorite just character moments in a Scorsese film, and it's when he's in The Aviator, and he was like the head of the competing airline or something. I can't exactly remember, but he just had one line in there that just cracked me up. And I when it comes to thinking of him with Scorsese, like that's the moment I always go to. And it's funny because I forgot he was actually in this one until he popped up on screen. It's The Aviator that I always go to with him and Scorsese.
Yeah, that's funny. I added Mark Ralston in here at the last minute. Mark Ralston plays Delahunt, who ended up getting shot. And there's this great scene where they put him on the couch and then they just kind of leave him to die. They go back and they start drinking and they're doing their thing. And Delahunt starts calling people over, and they're asking him, is he going to die? And this is in a deleted scene. It's another one of these expanded scenes that was deleted. And he's calling over his buddies. They're asking him, "Are you going to die? Are you okay?" And they're having this conversation. And then he calls Leonardo DiCaprio over. And that's when he springs on DiCaprio's character, on Billy. He says, "Look, I called you to give you the address that we needed to go to, and I gave you the wrong address. And yet you still showed up to the right place.
Yeah.
I know you're the rat," right? That's the message there. But in the deleted scene, and I actually don't think, does he have the "I could never kill nobody" bit in the film?
No.
Okay, so this is all part of his sequence where he says he comes to terms with the fact. He says, "I've never killed anybody. I could never kill nobody. I couldn't do it, and I know that now here on my deathbed that I could never kill nobody." And then he asks, "Why didn't I tell them?" He says to Leo, he says, "Why didn't I tell them that I sent you to the wrong address?" And that question goes unanswered. And the reason I bring it up is because Scorsese says, in introducing this deleted scene in particular, he says one of the things that I think is most interesting about that sequence is that you could make the case that Timothy Delahunt is another rat in the organization, that he was a cop all along. And I never saw that at all, but since Scorsese said it, I felt like I had to bring it up. What was your sense? Did you think that there were other rats in the gang?
Yeah, I mean,
did that ever hit you that Delahunt, as he was dying, was possibly a cop?
I don't think it hit me when he was dying, but the very next scene when it's like they're seeing on the TV that he's a cop, I'm like, oh well, there. Of course, it makes sense that there's more than one mole in each of these organizations.
Well, and I know, and we already knew going into it that there were other moles on the force too. But I didn't see that coming on him in particular, and I didn't. I was surprised at that. I thought it was a good scene, and it was a good death, and I thought he did a good job on it.
It was a character that I felt I enjoyed more in Infernal Affairs, and I think it was because there was just more to him, longer stretches of that character throughout the film. We had more of him talking about, they're a cop, all that sort of stuff, and I just felt like I knew the character more. I mean, that was like really his scene, was that one scene, which happened like the scene before his death scene. It wasn't there wasn't a whole lot of him, so that was a little bit disappointing that they shortened that character's arc over the course of this particular film.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You wanted to talk something about Anthony Anderson?
I just thrilled that he was in it because I love Anthony Anderson. He cracks me up, and it's great seeing him in stuff where he's not necessarily just being funny. And I mean, he's I think he's funny in things like Transformers. But then he's in something like this, and he's a straight character, and I think he does a great job. So I'm all for more Anthony Anderson.
Can I tell you, I really like Blackish. You ever watch that show?
I haven't. I don't,
He's really good. It's a really good show.
yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
great things about it. Yeah,
Totally. Boy, he's one of those guys.
he is.
He's been around a long time.
He's a busy man.
Busy man. That's who I wanted to talk about. Do you have anyone else on your list that you're excited to talk about, or are we ready to talk about old Howard Shore?
I just got to mention that that one of the Whalbergs was in, other than Mark. His brother Robert was also in it.
I didn't catch that. Who was Robert?
Robert played the FBI special agent Frank Lazio.
There you go.
So yeah,
The Whalbergs of Boston.
spreading the Whalberg love.
That's right. How'd the score hold up for you?
I like it. I mean, I like that it just has a feel to it that feels different. It's a guitar score, and I like what Howard Shore does with it here. It's, Scorsese is, I think, a real master at finding the way to integrate music and the score into his films. And I as much as I like Howard Shore's score here, I think what really stands out to me is just the songs that Scorsese has running through it, whether it's the Beach Boys or the Stones or Pink Floyd,
yeah, Comfortably
Allman Brothers.
Numb. Yeah.
There's just so much stuff going on here music wise.
I think that's right. The soundtrack is really is more of a standout to me too.
And
I agree.
And I have to say, Dropkick Murphys, their song is just, that to me, when I think of this movie, that is the song that comes to my mind.
Absolutely. I'm shipping up to Boston.
Yeah.
What a fantastic tune. And I think they use it well. They use it a lot. It's one of those that's used in the trailer, I think, and then it's used throughout the film in a couple of important sequences, but it works really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we good?
I was just going to throw out the Oscars real quick.
Yeah, how'd it do?
This was the film that gave Scorsese his gold statue.
Yeah.
Some people have problems with that because they feel like it should have come years before.
It should have. Yeah.
It should have. It really should have. But, I am still thrilled that he does have one. I think it was Jon Stewart, I believe, when Jon Stewart hosted the Oscars a few years before this. And I'm going to blank on the name of the group who won for It's Hard Out There for a Pimp. I always think of the moment at the Oscars when Jon Stewart comes out.
Is it 3-6 Mafia?
3-6 Mafia. And he comes out and he's like, so just for the record, 3-6 Mafia 1, Martin Scorsese 0. And that always made me laugh. And
That's pretty good.
Always thought about that. And this film finally broke that streak. So now they're tied.
Scorsese and his entire catalog is tied up there for 3-6 Mafia.
Oh, so funny.
Oh, that's good.
So funny. But yeah, it was nominated for Best Picture, and it won. How do you feel about that? Is The Departed, Babel, Letters from Iwo Jima, Little Miss Sunshine, and The Queen?
I think I actually feel good about that.
Yeah, of that group.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I mean,
I was not a huge fan of Letters from Iwo Jima. Little Miss Sunshine was great. Not sure it felt like, Best Picture caliber there.
I love it. It feels like the kind of the indie film that they have been throwing in the last few decades that is just in there to show, hey, we love indie films too.
But Babel.
I hated. I really didn't like that film.
You didn't like that one?
No. I won't say I hated it. I just didn't like it. I loved The Queen. That was if there was one that I would have picked other than The Departed, probably would have been that. But it was still so far behind The Departed that The Departed for me was
the thing though.
The
Queen though. I mean, that was, I don't know. That was on Helen Mirren.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I really thought it was a strong story.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
No, I'm still with you. I think The Departed is the one.
Yeah.
That is the one.
And then Scorsese, of course, like I said, won for Best Director. Let's see. Mark Wahlberg was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, much to your chagrin. He lost to Alan Arkin for Little Miss Sunshine. And I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Totally agree.
And it won Best Adapted Screenplay, adapted from Infernal Affairs, as we've already talked about. It beat out Borat.
But let's talk about Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Because he was also up. He was up against Forrest Whitaker for Last King of Scotland, which was, I think, the right choice. But he was up there not for this film, but for Blood Diamond.
Right.
What are the politics in there? I mean, how did he end up not getting a nod for the Scorsese film, but ending up getting something for Blood Diamond? I'm curious about that.
I don't know. My hunch is it would fall into one of those things where you've got two strong lead roles, and they, it ends up splitting as far as who people are pushing forward, Leo or Matt. And
yeah.
And so when it comes to, who should we pick for that film, neither of them ended up getting it. And, Blood Diamond had him getting that one. And that's, again, one of those politic things, because if it were up to me, I would have put Jimon Honsu up as Best Actor, not
totally.
Leo.
And
instead of him getting nominated for Supporting Actor, which didn't make sense.
Which he lost to Alan Arkin.
Because he is the protagonist of the film.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Aye.
Isn't it interesting, though? I think if there was anything, what did you think of Eddie Murphy in Dreamgirls? I
didn't see it.
Distracted. You didn't see it? He was great. If there was anything that was ever going to get him anything for anything, it was going to be this.
Huh.
I thought he was great.
Well, I thought Jackie Earle Haley was pretty fantastic in Little Children.
I don't think I saw that.
It was good. It's definitely, he's a dark character in that film.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway. And then, of course, Best Editing, which I already mentioned, Thelma got her third Oscar for this film.
Oh, you buried the lead a little bit. Departed not only beat Borat, William Monahan against Sacha Baron Cohen, but also Alfonso Cuarón, Children of Men.
Children of Men. Yep.
Didn't you love that film?
I do. I do love that film.
I don't love it.
I know you don't love it.
But don't you? Do you think you still think that Departed should have won?
I mean, I'm a little torn there. I feel like I would probably pick Children of Men over The Departed.
Okay.
But
right.
I don't have a problem that The Departed won, because I still really, really enjoy this story. And I really think that Monahan did a very strong adaptation of Infernal Affairs.
Now, don't talk yourself out of it. I got you to say what I wanted you to say. Now you can shut up. How did it do on the numbers?
This film did quite well for itself. This film cost $90 million to make. Adjusted, that's about $104.4 million. And then it also spent about $38 million in prints and advertising. So all told, the budget on this film was an adjusted just under $150 million. So that's a pretty hefty chunk of change.
Yeah.
It ended up grossing here in the States about $132 million and about $157.5 million internationally. So all told, the total adjusted gross was about $336 million. So yeah, that ended up being an adjusted profit per finished minute of about $1.2 million.
It performed well.
Yes, quite admirably, I would say.
Admirably. Still no sequel.
Or prequel.
I'm waiting for number 2 and 3.
They asked Andrew Lau and Andy Lau what they thought of The Departed. Andrew Lau said, "Of course I think the version I made is better, but the Hollywood version is pretty good too. Scorsese made the Hollywood version more attuned to American culture." Fair.
Yes.
Andy Lau, the actor, said, "The Departed was too long, and it felt as if Hollywood had combined all 3 Infernal Affairs movies together." So I think that's a really interesting thing to say. It does make me want to watch the other 2 now, and see
all at once.
if I can all at once. If I can find
like on 3 TVs.
Let's see if I can find the comparisons. He did like it still. He gave it 8 out of 10. So that's their comparison. So there you go.
Yeah, I like it. I'm ready. I think we should probably jump in and rank it.
Let's do it.
Head over to flickchart.com, everybody, and you can go to flickchart.com/thenextreel. If you haven't done it, set up an account so that you can start your gut-wrenching, horrifying experience of picking this one-on-one filmo a filmo and see where The Departed lands in your list of very favorite films of all time.
I think you just coined that.
Filmo a filmo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Copyright it, man. All right, first up, The Departed or The Bad Seed?
The Departed.
Totally The Departed. The Departed or Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
I'm Eternal Sunshine.
Ooh.
Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah. The Departed or The Killing? I'm doing The Killing.
Why?
The story structure, I think, is so fascinating. I don't know. I mean, while I think the narration might feel a little dated, Sterling Hayden's character in that is a really strong, crime character, and I enjoy him quite a bit, and I enjoy the way the story unfolds. I really enjoy that film, and I think that it's for me, it's Jack Nicholson's performance in The Departed stands out as kind of just too much.
Yeah,
and
I'm The Killing. That's it.
It's so weird. I don't think it bothered me as much until this viewing. I feel like if Scorsese had cast somebody else to play that character, I feel like it would have made an even better film.
Yeah. Okay.
So there.
That's it. That's The Killing.
The Departed or Thank You for Smoking?
Thank You for Smoking.
Yeah, I'll do Thank You for Smoking. The Departed or Viridiana?
Huh. I didn't expect that one to come up against this one.
I'll do The Departed.
Oh, geez. Okay. All right. I'll do The Departed.
Okay. The Departed or The Lavender Hill Mob?
Lavender Hill Mob. Absolutely.
I think I would still do The Departed.
Oh, how much would I do The Lavender Hill Mob? Oh, Alec Guinness.
He's great.
Tower.
Yeah.
I really had a good time with that movie. If I'm thinking side by side, filmo a filmo, I'm Lavender Hill Mob. We're gonna have to go to the mat.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
One, two,
two,
three. Rock.
Paper.
Oh, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. The Departed or High Noon? The Departed.
Oh, The Departed.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we have it. 104.
Didn't break the top 100.
Nope, but it's pretty stinking close. It's in the top 50%.
Yep. Yeah, it is. That's probably fair.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it dropped a little bit in my book. This had been a 5-star film for me, and I don't think it is anymore.
Or are you looking at a 4-star or below that? For me, it's about 3.5.
Is that a 3 or a 3.5?
Well, I'm still at 3.5, Andy. How do you want to do that? I'm going to say it's a 3-star film.
I would say it's dropped to oh gosh. I'm torn between 4 or 4.5. I feel like I'm at 4. I feel like this is now at the same level as Infernal Affairs for me.
Okay, so this is an interesting thing, and this is what I meant when I started, that this film has dropped, in my view, directly as a result of my experience with the original material. And had we not been having this conversation around Infernal Affairs, the fact that it's part of a series that we're talking about specifically in the context of great films and their remakes, this might have been a very different discussion. Had we done The Departed first, I think it would have been a different discussion. And as a result, I feel pretty comfortable with that 3-star. I don't know, I don't know how well that is going to age on me. Does that make sense? Like, we're watching them so close together, and I still feel a little bit burned by this one. It's still Scorsese, and he's really good at this work, at bringing so many people together to make such fantastic crime films. So we'll see how it ages. But right now, it's a 3-star, kind of a wandering film, and it's got the worst performance of a Whalberg that I've seen.
I don't know. I hear he's pretty bad in that Scary Wind film. The Happening?
The Happening? No, it wasn't this bad.
Wow.
He wasn't cartoon villain bad.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
How funny.
All right. For crying out loud, Andy, where do we go from here? Do you have any idea?
Well, this is great. As you may know, Pete, we had a pony prize drawing, and dear friend of the show, Ben Lott, ended up winning. And this is going to be his chance to do a listener's choice episode. And
pray tell, Andy, what listener's choice episode? What film did he choose?
We're going to be talking about Peter Bogdanovich's 1972 film, What's Up, Doc?
I love that we're talking about this film. I know you have already seen it. I have not yet. I'm really excited to watch it, especially because it's one that Ben loves so much, and we hold him in such high esteem as such a regular contributor to this very show. We should also add that before you hear the What's Up, Doc episode with Ben, we've got another speakeasy coming up.
Oh, yes.
And this one's all on you, man. You did all the work here. You got one of our very favorite people, Dee Wallace, who was our favorite mom in Cujo and E.T. and lots of other fantastic films. We've talked about her a number of times on this show, just in terms of how much we like her. And she agreed to join us for a show. What movie did she choose?
We ended up talking about the 2015 film that's actually up for an Oscar, Room.
Oh, that was crushingly good, that film.
It really was.
Spoiler. Really good. So, yes, we're talking about Room. That's coming up just next week. And then What's Up, Doc? And, who knows what's coming up after that.
Lots of great stuff. That's what's coming up.
Lots of great stuff. That is true.
Every bit of it.
That is what's coming up, and we're excited to do it. Until the great stuff, though, I got to go to bed.
All right, I'm going to go hunt for rats.
Amazon giveth, Andy.
Amazon always giveth, Pete.
Mine is from Miss Kitty. Mrs. Kitty.
Oh, don't confuse.
No, you don't want to mess that up.
Confuse the two.
No. She's distinguished. I just kept waiting for this movie to be over. It was agonizingly long. There were no redeeming characters, and shooting everyone in the movie in the head got a little repetitive. This is an excellent example of how just because you have big names involved in the movie, it doesn't automatically make the movie good. I wish I could have those few hours I wasted watching this movie back. 1 out of 5 stars from Mrs. Kitty.
Mrs. Kitty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a 1-star also by Landrew. Not Andrew, it's Landrew.
Oh, right.
who says 1 star because ingenious plot twists and hopelessly illogical surprises are 2 completely different things. It's hard to read because it's full of ellipses and it still ends in an exclamation point. So
after an ellipses.
I'm not sure exactly what emotion Andrew is trying to project there.
Incredulity, Andrew.
I think that's it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And as always, thank you, Amazon. It is hard to believe we have been having in-depth conversations about movies since 2011.
You are telling me. Producing this show week after week requires a ton of work behind the scenes. If you'd like to help support our efforts, one easy way is by using our Originals page when shopping for books and movies that we've covered.
Just visit thenextreel.com/originals. Your purchases made through our links give us a small commission at no extra cost to you and allow us to keep having these great discussions.
Season 5 had some great adaptations, like our Meryl Streep Oscar-nominated performances series. We covered adaptations like Kramer vs. Kramer, Sophie's Choice, and The French Lieutenant's Woman.
It's a real Sophie's Choice between those books. You see what I did there?
Yeah. And I don't think it's quite at the level of a real Sophie's Choice.
We also did Snowpiercer for our Bong Joon-ho series, adapted from the French graphic novel Le Transpersonnage. Man, I love that movie.
We had our two-part 1939 series that included adaptations like Gone with the Wind, Ninotchka, The Women, and The Hound of the Baskervilles.
A number of those 1939 movies, like Goodbye, Mr. Chips, also tied into our recent 1940 Academy Award Best Picture nominee series.
Our naughty children horror series had creepy adaptations like The Bad Seed, Village of the Damned, The Innocents, and Children of the Corn.
For our Hayao Miyazaki series, we talked about his take on Lupin III with the Castle of Cagliostro, plus his own The Wind Rises.
Some great listener choice picks too, Viridiana and The Great Escape.
And for our David Mamet Wright series, The Verdict, The Untouchables, and Glengarry Glen Ross.
Plus, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang from our Shane Black series, adapted from Brett Halliday's novel, Bodies Are Where You Find Them.
Dive into the sources for all of these at thenextreel.com/originals.
Every book you buy helps support the show. Check out thenextreel.com/originals today and find your next read.